The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Honey stepped onto the crystalline platform, her boots echoing against the quantum-stabilized floor. Around her, representatives from 47 species watched with varying degrees of curiosity and contempt. The humans were still newcomers here, barely 2 decades since first contact, and most council members still viewed them as primitive, emotional creatures who'd stumbled into faster-than-light travel through sheer luck. Honey's jaw was set, her eyes cold as frozen hydrogen. Beside her stood Harry, the human military liaison, his uniform bearing fresh scorch marks from the battle that had brought them here today. Neither spoke as the Zenthari Prime Minister, a being of pure energy contained within a chromium exoskeleton, initiated the proceedings. The Council acknowledges Ambassador Honey of Earth. The Prime Minister's voice resonated through neural implants. You have invoked Emergency Protocol 7. State your grievance. Honey's voice was steady, but those who understood human physiology could detect the micro-tremors of barely contained rage. 72 hours ago, the Kresh Empire conducted a military strike against human colony Theta 9. The colony was designated non-combatant under Galactic Treaty 4421. It housed primarily agricultural workers and their families. The Kresh have already filed their report, interjected Ambassador Vexther, the Kresh representative, a serpentine creature whose scales shifted through hostile reds. It was a legitimate military target. Your species was manufacturing weapons. We were growing food, Harry spoke for the first time, his voice like gravel. Wheat, corn, vegetables. The only things manufactured there were farming equipment and children's toys. He activated a holographic projector. The council chamber filled with images, a pastoral colony beneath twin suns, children playing in fields, families gathered around dinner tables. Then the images shifted. Orbital bombardment. Plasma fire raining from the sky. Buildings reduced to molten slag. 4,612 colonists, Honey continued. 3,147 of them were children under the age of 16. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Several species shifted uncomfortably. The concept of childhood varied across the galaxy, but most civilizations recognized the universal principle of protecting their young. Collateral damage is unfortunate but inevitable in warfare, Vexther hissed. Your colony was within Kresh territorial claims. Claims we disputed through proper legal channels, Honey interrupted. Channels that were still active. There was no state of war, no declaration, no warning. You simply opened fire on sleeping families. The Zenthari Prime Minister's energy field flickered, their species equivalent of a troubled expression. Ambassador Honey, while the loss of life is regrettable, the Council cannot intervene in every territorial dispute. The Kresh have paid the standard reparations. We don't want reparations, Harry said quietly. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. We want justice. Justice has been served according to galactic law, Vexther declared triumphantly. The matter is closed. Honey turned slowly, fixing the Kresh ambassador with a gaze that made several nearby delegates instinctively move away from the serpentine creature. When she spoke, her voice carried a weight that transcended mere words. Then let me tell you about human justice, Ambassador. Let me tell you what happens when you harm our children. She gestured and Harry brought up new data streams, troop movements, fleet deployments, industrial output statistics. The numbers were staggering. In the 72 hours since the attack, Earth and her allied colonies have mobilized 100% of our military reserves. We've converted 43% of our civilian industrial capacity to weapons manufacturing. We've recalled every human ship, every soldier, every asset from across the galaxy. You're threatening war, the Prime Minister's energy field crackled with alarm, against a council member species. That would be. We're not threatening anything, Honey said coldly. We're informing you. As of 6 hours ago, the human fleet entered Kresh space. Right now, they're broadcasting a message on all frequencies. Every Kresh civilian has been given 48 hours to evacuate their worlds. We've provided coordinates for safe zones, refugee ships, emergency supplies. We're not monsters. Vexthor rose from his coiled position, scales blazing crimson. This is absurd. The Kresh Empire spans 200 star systems. We have defensive fleets that could crush your entire species. We have weapons that could sterilize Earth. Had, Harry corrected. Past tense. Your defensive fleet at Kresh Prime engaged our advance forces 3 hours ago. The battle lasted 17 minutes. Your fleet no longer exists. The holographic display shifted again, showing tactical footage. Human warships moved with impossible precision, their weapons systems optimized beyond anything the Council had seen. Kresh vessels, mighty dreadnoughts that had crushed rebellions for centuries, exploded like firecrackers. "How?" whispered the delegate from the Crystalline Confederacy. "Your technology was centuries behind theirs." "We're fast learners," Honey said. "Especially when motivated. Turns out, when every human scientist, engineer, and programmer works around the clock with a single purpose, progress happens quickly. We've integrated technologies from 17 different Council species, all publicly available data, all perfectly legal, and combined them in ways you never imagined. But weapons of that power, the energy requirements alone," the crystalline delegate protested. "We solved that too," Harry said. "Humans are very good at solving problems when our children's lives are at stake. We're also very good at remembering who caused those problems." Vextor's scales had faded to a sickly gray. "The Council will stop you. Economic sanctions, military intervention." "Will you?" Honey's eyes swept the chamber. "Which of you wants to be next? Because let me be absolutely clear about what's happening here. This isn't just about the Kresh. This is a message to every species in this galaxy. Human children are not collateral damage. They are not acceptable losses. They are not negotiating chips." She stepped closer to the center platform, and her voice rose, filling the chamber with steel-edged conviction. "We tried playing by your rules. We signed your treaties, respected your protocols, submitted our disputes to your courts. And what did we get? Dead children and a check marked standard reparations. So now we're teaching you our rules." "The human rule is simple," Harry added. "You harm our children, we don't fine you, we don't sue you. We don't write strongly worded letters, we end you." The holographic display showed the Kresh homeworld. Above it, a human fleet of unprecedented size had taken position. Even from the tactical display, the delegates could see the power readings, enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. "Stop this madness," Vexthor shrieked. "There are billions of Kresh down there, civilians." "We know," Honey said. "That's why we gave them 48 hours to evacuate. That's 47 hours and 12 minutes more warning than you gave our children. And unlike you, we actually mean it. Any Kresh civilian who leaves will be protected. We'll escort your refugee ships personally. We'll provide food, water, medical care, and help you resettle on unclaimed worlds." "But the ones who don't leave?" the Zinthari Prime Minister asked quietly. "We'll learn what happens when you murder 3,000 human children," Harry said flatly. "At 600 hours Galactic Standard Time tomorrow, if any Kresh military vessels or weapon systems remain active, we begin orbital bombardment. Every military installation, every weapons factory, every government building. We will burn the Kresh Empire out of the galaxy, root and branch." "And if we interfere?" asked the delegate from the Hive Collective. Honey's expression didn't change. "Then you'll discover whether your species considers its children as precious as we consider ours. I hope, for everyone's sake, you don't test that hypothesis." The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted, pleaded, threatened. But through it all, Honey and Harry stood motionless, unmoved as mountains. Finally, the Zenthari Prime Minister raised a hand, and quantum-enforced silence fell across the chamber. Ambassador Honey, humanity is proposing genocide, the complete eradication of a sentient species. The Council cannot. 48 hours, Honey repeated. Any Kresh who wants to live leaves peacefully. We'll even help them. But the Kresh Empire as a political and military entity will cease to exist. That is not negotiable. That is not a threat. That is simply what's going to happen. She turned to leave, Harry falling into step beside her. As they reached the exit, Honey paused and looked back at the assembled delegates. We came to the stars hopping to find friends, allies, fellow travelers in the great cosmic journey. We're still open to that. But we need you all to understand something fundamental about humanity. She paused, making sure every being in the chamber was listening. We will sacrifice everything, our economy, our standing, our lives, our entire civilization if necessary, to protect our children. Everything. If that makes us monsters in your eyes, so be it. But know this, we are monsters who remember, monsters who never forgive certain crimes, and monsters who always protect our young. As the doors closed behind the human delegates, the council chamber remained silent. In orbit above, the evacuation of the Kresh homeworld had begun. And across the galaxy, every species with children of their own looked at humanity with new understanding and new fear. The age of the Kresh Empire was over. The age of understanding humanity's true nature had begun. And the lesson was written in fire across the stars. You harmed human children. Now bid farewell to your entire species.